Good morning or good afternoon, where you're joining us from. Thank you very much for being here today with us. This is a session, an online session, where we explore the solar opportunities in Jordan. It's part of the skill development program for energy professionals that here in Athens Sites we are initiating, that is available for everyone. In these online sessions, we have key experts that are going to discuss what are the opportunities in this market that is moving so fast. Here with us today, and I would ask you, Ahmad, Christopher, to, when I mention you, just to, like wave and maybe say hi and where you're joining us from, because here in this audience we have people from all over the world, and that we're going to ask them as well where they're from. So, Ahmad Abdullahi from NEPCO, where are you joining us from? And say hi to us. Switch on the mic so that we can hear you.
Hi, how are you, everybody? I'm Ahmad Abdullahi from NEPCO. Hi, nice to meet you.
And you're joining us from?
I'm joining from Jordan. I'm working in National Electric Power Company here in Jordan, which is the transmission system operator and responsible for the planning for the generation and transmission sector here in Jordan.
Excellent, thank you very much, Ahmad. So Ahmad is in Jordan. And Christopher, please give a wave. You have a nice story. Where are you joining us from?
Hello, hi Belen, hi Ahmad. Yes, I'm Chris Cantelmi. I'm with the IFC, the International Finance Corporation. I'm based in Dubai, but I am joining you today from Tokyo.
So we have a very international session here today. Please tell us, in your chat with all, using all attendees, where are you joining us from? Because you usually have 30 plus countries joining, so it'd be good to know. And without really further ado, we're going to go straight into it. Ahmad is going to talk in the first place, and Engineer Amani Alassane was supposed to be with us today, but unfortunately she had a parliament session, so she couldn't join. But the good news is that Ahmad has her covered, and he's going to give a presentation for the two of them. So Ahmad, please share your screen and start your presentation.
Yeah.
Whilst Ahmad is putting up his screen, just a reminder, we're recording this session. You will get it. You will get the presentations that you're seeing, or the presentation from Ahmad. And also, please send your questions using the question and answer box at the bottom, okay? We will try to get to as many as possible once Ahmad and Chris have spoken. Afterwards, we'll get to that. So thank you very much, Ahmad. You can go for it. I'll give you just put the screen in large, and you can start talking.
Yeah, of course. Hi, how are you, everybody? As I told you, I'm Ahmad Abdullahi from Jordan, from National Electric Power Company. I'm working here as acting production planning department manager in NEPCO. I'll do the presentation on behalf, of course, of myself and Her Excellency Engineer Amani. She's the General Secretary for the Ministry of Mineral Resources and Energy. Okay, I'll do the presentation for the global picture for the renewable energy program in Jordan, renewable energy, especially the solar PV and the other solar technologies like CSP and other technologies. We'll start with the main challenges that facing the energy sector as a whole in Jordan. As a first, we have scarcity of conventional energy, primary energy resources. We don't have natural gas. As you may know, we don't have natural gas or crude oil. That's why we're relying on the imported energy. Maybe 96% of our consumed energy is imported from outside. As a result of this, of course, because we don't have conventional energy resources, we're highly dependent on the imported energy resources, and we will have a high significant increase in the growth for both primary energy and electricity energy demand, as we'll see in the figures on the incoming slides. The figures, as you know, that the figures for 2017 is not yet finalized. We'll talk about the figures for 2016. Cost for consumed energy, it was 7% for the whole consumed energy, 7% out of the whole GDP. High dependency on imported energy, it was 95% in 2016, something like 93% 2017, and this figure will be decreased and decreased as will coming. As of the years in 2019, 2020, as a result of the energy strategy that we have put by the government of Jordan. We'll talk about this. The annual growth for electricity for the last 7 or 10 years, it was something like 5 point something %. From 2016 to 2015, as a result of renewable energy program, net metering, wheeling, as we'll talk, the annual growth for electricity has been dropped to 2.5% only, but we'll kept on the high growth for the primary energy demand. It was 7% 2016. The main strategy, energy strategy and goals for Jordan concentrated on diversifying the energy resources and increasing the local content and enhance the environmental protection, because we're from 2003 to 2011, we're almost 95% for the electricity I'm talking, we're 95% relying on the imported natural gas from Egypt. And this natural gas was interrupted from 2011 to 2015, which was very harmful for us in the economic perspective. We starting from 2015 till now, and we'll continue maybe for another 5 years, we're relying on imported liquid natural gas from abroad. We have conducted a very ambitious liquid natural gas project with renting FSRU, all infrastructure, all everything. But we don't want to repeat the same problem that we rely on one resources, like in the previous we were relying on Egyptian natural gas, now we're relying on liquid natural gas. That's why we start thinking as a government of Jordan to expand the development of renewable energy projects. Renewable energy projects for the whole big, small, large and small scale projects. The government of Jordan also start thinking about the oil shale for electricity generation, for retorting to produce crude oil, and they start to think. They're thinking for more than 10 years now for the nuclear project for electricity generation. But this is not expected to be in operation before maybe 10 to 15 years, if it is viable, okay? So the renewable energy strategy have got 10% renewable energy contribution from the energy mix in 2020. If we want to consider this, to achieve this, we need roughly or theoretically to have 800 megawatt of wind projects and 800 megawatt of solar PV projects capacity. Actually, we already exceeded this. I mean, the committed projects already exceeded this. We'll exceed this in 2020 for sure. We'll talk about this later. The potential for renewable energy here in Jordan, as you may know, that we have for the solar, we have more than 300 sunny days with solar radiation between 5 to 7 kilowatt hour per meter squared per day, which is one of the best potential in the world for the solar. It can be used for all kinds of heating purposes, PV, CSP, all kinds of solar technologies. Because we have the global irradiation is very good. The direct normal irradiation for CSP projects for heating purposes also is very good. For wind projects, we have sites for average for more than 9 meters per second. But the potential for renewable energy, it is concentrated on the southern part of Jordan, both the solar, the highest potential for solar and high potential for wind. And to overcome this problem, we have conducted, start to thinking about green corridor projects to connect the southern part of Jordan with the northern part of Jordan, to allow to evacuate the generated energy that is in the southern part of Jordan, because there is no load there. The load is very minimal, to send it to the load centers around the north area in Amman and Zarqa area and the northern part of Jordan. And the Green Corridor project, we'll talk about this. It's something like 400 kV 400 kV transmission network and substation in Ma'an area, and can be extended to another substation in Tafila area, which is both Ma'an and Tafila. They are located in the southern part of Jordan to allow evacuating all the energy from the south, sending to the north, where are the loads are. Key figures for 2016 we have almost 20 terawatt hour of generated electricity. The shares of renewable energy was from the installed capacity, nominal capacity, it was 13%. From the energy, it was around 4.4%. Total electricity consumed around 17 terawatt hour. The difference, of course, between the generated and the consumed is the losses, the total losses for the system. The conventional capacity around 4 gigawatt hour, installed capacity of renewable around 500 megawatt hour, and the peak load was around 3.3 gigawatt hour. If we want to talk about the investment environment for the renewable energy in Jordan, we have a very good environment for the investment, especially in the energy sector, and renewable sector. We have a clear development path and policies for the government. We have tax exemption regime for renewable energy projects and renewable energy equipment. And we have a well-defined regulation and laws and bylaws for this, and a template for agreements for like power purchase agreement, land agreement, grid connections, regulation. Everybody is settled down and very well defined. And we have, and our agreement and the scheme is very bankable for all financing institutions all over the world. We have experience with all financial institutions. We have experience with EBRD, IFC, World Bank, everybody. For the regulation, in the top of the pyramid, we can see that the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Law, it was firstly issued in 2012 and then amended and approved in 2014 and 2015. This is the top of the pyramid for all regulation or the instruction. This Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency bylaw has been both effective to increase, to allow to achieve the 10% portfolio which has been decided by the government of Jordan 2020. And below the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Law, we have different bylaws and different instructions which are referring always to Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Law. As I mentioned, the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency laws have been boosted the development of renewable energy in Jordan in 3 different paths. The first path, it was the directive proposal. It was being set by directive proposal bylaw number 50 in 2015, which this allow any investor to send a proposal for any renewable energy projects directly to the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources here in Jordan, with a ceiling price that has been decided by the Regulatory Commission here in Jordan, the MEMR. The second instruction that allow the second and the third path, which is the net metering and the wheeling, to allow any ordinary customer to cover their own consumption, the average own consumption for the last year, by utilizing the renewable energy technologies like PV and wind. And most of them, they're using PV because it's very difficult to use wind in the small scale project, and it's very limited. Okay. The contractual document that we're using here in Jordan for the directive proposal, we're talking the directive proposal that an investor can send the directive proposal to the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. We're using the first stage, the pre-qualification requirements. Then we have a very clear instruction for developing renewable energy projects. And as I mentioned, that we have a very well settled project agreements like BBA, power purchase agreement, land lease agreement, and government guarantee agreement, which they are very well bankable, especially the government guarantee and power purchase agreement. Under the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Law, we have 4 different schemes that has been used to achieve the target of the government, which is 10% of the energy mix in 2020. The direct proposal schemes, competitive bidding, EPC turnkey projects, which is government projects. Some of them came through grants from the Gulf area, grants from the European Union. Okay, and the small scale projects, small and large scale projects for wheeling and net metering for ordinary consumers to cover their own consumption. Okay, I'll mention we have around, in 2016, we had around 130 megawatt for net metering and wheeling projects. At the beginning of 2018, we'll have more than 200 megawatt of projects, and more than it was in 2016, more than 2,000 applications received by distribution companies. Now it has been exceeded the 3,000 applications received by distribution companies. For now, we have total operation for renewable projects. We're talking now here about the large scale projects under the direct proposal umbrella. Okay, we excluded here the net metering and wheeling projects. We have around 300 megawatt of solar PV projects and around 200 megawatt of wind projects, with around, the total is around 500 megawatt. The total under construction will have total of around 600 megawatt, in which around 400 megawatt of PV and around 200 megawatt of wind. The total projects under financial close, still under development, around 600 megawatt, in which 250 megawatt of wind and 350 of solar. The total capacity for renewable will exceed 1.7 gigawatt. This is only the direct proposals. The direct proposal, large projects. If you want to consider the net metering, wheeling, small projects will exceed the 2.4 gigawatt in 2020, 2021. And this will have shares of more than 20% of the 20 to 22% of the total electricity shares at that time in 2020, in the year 2020. So as I told you, that will exceed the figure that have been bought by the government as 10% 2020, will reach 20% easily in 2020. If you want to consider all projects, large and small scale projects. Okay, this is something like pipeline. We have started with 1 megawatt solar project as a Spanish grant. We increased the project for another 5 megawatt in Azraq area. Then maybe we have started with the JWBC, which is the first wind farm in the Middle East with the capacity of 117 megawatt. Then we have entered the agreement and for round 1 project for PV with a total capacity of 204 megawatt project. They are all put in operation 2016. Now we're in 2018, we'll have another all round 2 projects, which are four projects with total capacity of 200 megawatt. They all reach financially closed and they will be in operation this year. And we'll have around 3 projects. They're still under evaluation, and we'll have them operation 2020 or 2021 with total capacity of 200 megawatt. We had two governmental EPC contract projects. In Ma'an area, it was 880 megawatt of wind projects, okay, and 100 megawatt of solar PV projects in Iguera area. Okay, we started also thinking about the waste to energy projects. We'll have 2 projects of total capacity of 60 megawatt. They will be in operation 2021 and 2022. Okay, this map, you can see the distribution of the solar and wind projects all over Jordan. Here, this is 170. It's round 1 projects. It is in Ma'an area. We have 10 megawatt in Aqaba area. It is also part of round 1. We have 20 megawatt in the northern part of Jordan. The total capacity of round 1, it is around 200 megawatt. We'll have in the northern east part of Jordan, the round 2 projects here, around 200 megawatt. Round 3, we'll have it here in the Ma'an area, another 200 megawatt. And we have in Iguera area here around Imran, another 100 megawatt project. Okay. And we'll have another 4 or 5 projects distributed between the north and the southern part of Jordan with a total capacity of around 300 megawatt. Okay. For the wind project, they are all distributed in the southern part of Jordan here at Tafila area with a total capacity in 2020, there will be around 700 megawatt. Okay. This is some pictures this is for JWBC. This is for Imran EBC contract, governmental projects, wind projects. This is for one of the projects in the first round. Its capacity is 10 megawatt. Its name is Arabia One. It has been located in southern part in Imran area and Imran development area. This is Azraq solar PV projects where we started actually. This is Banshee grant. It was 1 point something megawatt and then increased in 2015 to be 5 megawatt. Okay, this is Philadelphia solar projects in Mafraq area. This is 10 megawatt. It has a part of round 1 projects with 10 megawatt, but has been connected not to the distribution network directly, not to the transmission network. This is the JWBC, the Tafila wind project, which is the first of kind in the Middle East, the first wind farm with such capacity in the Middle East with 170 megawatt. The operation has been started in September 2015. It has been almost 2.5 years of operation. Okay. So, as I mentioned, we'll have something like 2.4 gigawatt as a total aggregate capacity of renewable projects in 2020 or 2021. As a rapid growth of energy projects, especially renewable projects, as you know that the challenges of the intermittent renewable project like PV and wind, they are fluctuating. We need the spinning reserve to follow them, to fill the gaps for the fluctuations for these projects. We started thinking about the energy storage project. The Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources announced the pilot projects with a capacity of 330 megawatt and 30 megawatt and 60 megawatt hour, which means 30 megawatts for 2 hours to follow the fluctuation of the follow the fluctuation of the renewable projects, PV and wind, and it can be used as an umbrella control or a spinning reserve for the system operator, or it can be used as energy shifting, especially to shift the from the minimum to the max, or from the maximum to the minimum by storing the excess energy, especially from the wind during the minimum loads period, and use it again during the peak load periods. And this, we have received more than 40 expressions of interest were received, and the evaluation has been finalized, and this project will be in operation in mid of 2019 or beginning of 2020. Okay. Now, as you know, that we start thinking together with the World Bank about different projects, why we're concentrating on the intermittent renewable resources, just wind and solar PV, why we don't think about CSP technology, because CSP technology, as you know, we can utilize the solar energy, increase the share of renewable energy, and this is CSP. It's not intermittent, it's dispatchable, it can be controlled. It's not like PV. It can has its own storage. It's not like solar PV or wind where I have to get something like pumped storage or battery storage or any other kind. It can own its own thermal storage, and it can be used to fill the gaps for the solar PV, for spinning reserve, for to follow the fluctuation of the solar PV and wind project, especially to cover the peak loads period in the evening. Okay. As a conclusion, that Jordan has the necessary regulation and will organize regulation and laws and bylaws for the development of investment in renewable energy, and all energy in the energy sector will have a very well-defined template contractual documents like BPA, government guarantee agreement. We are on the way to further grid reinforcement. We have the Green Corridor projects to allow us to add more renewable projects in the southern part of Jordan. We start thinking about the another Green Corridor to be in the northern part of Jordan to increase the shares there. Okay, and now we're the leading in the market in the Middle East for the renewable energy, and we start thinking, because as you know, the intermittent renewable resources has its own cap to be integrated in the grid. We start thinking about the CSP technology as one of our future options for increasing the renewable energy shares. Thank you so much for hearing me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt. You've gone through a lot of the points and you've had tons of questions. We're going to try to get to some of them, but I'm going to, summarize them for you. But you can go and check out in the QA box. Can you stop sharing the screen for us? And don't worry, you guys, we're recording the session. You're going to have access to this document. Christopher, go ahead. From the point of view of the IFI, the IFC, this market, what you guys are doing, etc. And I would ask you to mute your microphone for just a minute.
It's my turn?
Yes, sorry. Yeah, Chris, go
ahead. Okay. I thought you wanted me to mute my mic.
No, I meant Emma, sorry.
It's all right. No issues. Well, Belen, Imad, thank you very much. That was really a great presentation you just gave, very informative and aligns with our understanding of what NEPCO wants to do. And I can concur that we have been active with NEPCO and the Ministry of Mineral and Natural Resources in Jordan, probably for a good chunk of the past, or probably over 10 years, in both your decision to deregulate or not deregulate, but unbundle the power market and to privatize a lot of your assets, as well as developing your IPP program and onwards. And I got to commend that Jordan has one of the best developed PPAs and contractual structures going back quite a long while, which gives lenders quite a lot of confidence. We also have been working with you since the days of Tafila, when the first renewable law came out, and in getting Tafila across the line, and in supporting Jordan through round one of the solar PV tender, and also through round one, some of your wind projects. Onwards through round two of the solar projects, and looking forward to continuing to support Jordan into the future through round three and other bilateral projects that you have been doing. I would say that we've just made an important announcement at Mazda in Abu Dhabi at the Sustainable Energy Week of the successful financial close of the largest solar PV project to date, Mazda's Bainuna 248 megawatt peak project, 200 megawatt AC. And I'm quite impressed with the environment there in Jordan. With that, I would say that's mainly what I wanted to present. We're actively supporting the Jordanian government and importantly the private sector in Jordan in getting finance and taking these renewable energy projects forward. And we're very impressed with the progress that has been made in Jordan and the foresight that it had, one of the first to bring renewable energy at any large scale to the region, and to successfully implement it. Thank you.
That was really nice. Thank you very much, Chris. You've been like very, very closely intertwined from what I can see. And you guys can open your mics now. I'm just going to ask you the questions. Look, there are a ton of questions in the Q&A box, and they pretty much go around 3 or 4 different topics. The first topic that I can see a lot of questions on is infrastructure. We're adding a lot of renewable energy to the grid. how is the grid going to cope? What is in plans in terms of upgrading that infrastructure and making sure that that can be managed and dispatched properly? So I don't know whether any of you or either of you wants to maybe talk a little bit about that. In general, we have so many questions, we can ask one by one. Go ahead, but just open your microphones and you guys just talk.
I will answer for the answer.
It's only a few friends of us here, so.
Yeah. How we can cope with this high share of renewable energy in the Jordanian electrical system. Actually, as I have mentioned, that we have a Green Corridor project. We're thinking about the Northern Green Corridor. We're thinking also, we have signed memorandum of understanding with Saudi Arabia to connect our system with their system. This will help us too much because, you know, the load profile in Saudi Arabia is somehow different. They have peak load in the summer and we will have it in the future in the winter. We can share spinning reserve. We can make energy shifting load, peak shaving, because we can share the same link. We can export electricity to them during summer. We can import it during winter. This will help us too much. We'll have another plans to expand our interconnection with Egypt because nowadays it's just 500 megawatt. We have plans to extend it to another 500 megawatt to reach 1,000 megawatt. And finally, we have Syria. If Syria is opened, we can relink the interconnection between us and them, and the link is 700 megawatt. We can export energy to them. We can share if they can establish their network in very short time. We can share the ancillary services, all of everything, the spinning reserve. So we'll have Jordan in the middle of this area. We can use our network as a market between Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Syria, and Iraq, maybe in the future, if all of these countries are open. I don't know if this answers your questions.
So far, so good. Christopher, did you want to add anything, or are you okay with that?
Oh, I think Ahmad did a great job at taking that question.
He did go really wide as well, you know, in terms of like joining with Syria.
I have two things to be added, actually. As I mentioned, we start thinking about energy storage batteries to be integrated. The first pilot project is 30 megawatt for 2 hours. We start thinking about second projects of 70 megawatt. We have a project with the water authority here in Jordan, together with the GIZ, the German party, to start utilizing the water for pumped storage. That will help us for the reserve, for the energy shifting, for everything. Okay. And
is 2 hours enough, Ahmad? Is 2 hours enough, or do you need like longer storage in terms of the amount of time?
Actually, we need longer, but this is a pilot project, so we should start with 2 hours. Then we'll start thinking, shall we go with another battery storage project? Shall we go with pumped storage? Maybe with CSB, stop the PV and start with CSB. It has its own storage. We'll start thinking about this, and we're still thinking about this.
Have you? Sorry, if I continue on that subject. Have you guys finalized how the winner would be compensated in terms of, would it be through a capacity charge or a combination of capacity usage charge?
It would be a combination between capacity charge and variable charge, but mainly capacity charge.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have also a lot of questions about battery storage. You said a little bit more there, but I mean, in storage, you had a recent tender. Are we expecting more of those? Are they going to be mixed with wind, with solar? Are you guys going to go down this line a lot more, or what is expected?
As I mentioned, for the time being, most probably we'll have another project for 70 megawatt. Okay. We prefer, and we still prefer to have it separate project, not to connect it with PV and wind project. We'll have it as a standalone separate project to use it to get the benefit for this to the maximum. We can charge it from anywhere, discharge it whenever we want. Okay. After the second project, we'll think about if we should proceed with energy storage batteries, or we should think about pumped storage and the CSB. Okay,
there's a bunch of things here as well, a bunch of questions about CSB. When are you planning? What have you done? You know, I also would like to ask you and poke you a little bit, as you know, I'm asked. So, what can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I think you can answer this because you know
No,
much
no,
more
no,
than
no, no. You
me.
answer this. It has to come from you, sir.
Yeah, actually, as you know, that we have a study have been conducted by the World Bank about the feasibility of the CSP in Jordan. The main result for the study shown that the CSP would be visible under some conditions in Jordan, starting from 2020 and 2023. We started to discuss it internally in the government, between government of Jordan, NIPCO, and the regulatory commissions and the other governmental entities, and we'll give answer very soon about this.
Okay, Christopher, you have a question that you said you'd like to answer live. I'm just going to give Emma a couple of minutes to, you know, debrief. And it's a little bit of an accusatory question here where it says, you know, are you guys, you know, pulling out of the round 3 financing? So I'm glad that you want to answer it. So go for it. Thank you.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. We're not pulling out of round 3. I mean, we're very supportive of the Jordanian government and for its efforts to competitively tender and take forward projects in Jordan. We are there if the round 3 goes forward to support those clients that come forward and ask us for that support. So there's no talk of us pulling out of Jordan or pulling out of renewable energy. Renewable energy is very important. What is important is to understand if the capacity in round 3 is needed at this time or when the timing of round 3 will take place. And I think there was some other questions here about you know, whether or not it'll be delayed, and that's a question for Imad to take. But we're certainly supportive. If the government believes the power is needed, IFC is available for our clients.
Yeah, the question goes on for a while, Emma, and there is a question about round 3 is being delayed. What's going to happen? Are you going to cancel it? Where can we find out more information? Do you have a date? You know, that sort of thing. So what can you tell us about that?
Actually, nothing gonna happen for round 3. It will be, as you know, that we'll expected to finalize that the evaluation. We received everything and the evaluation by maybe the 3rd quarter of this year. And for the PV projects, we're expecting the project to be operated in the last quarter of 2020, and the wind project, which we have 200 megawatt of PV projects for round 3 and 100 megawatt of wind projects. The second half 2020, the 200 megawatt of PV of round 3 will be in operation, and the beginning of 2021, I think the wind project of 100 megawatt will be in operation. There's nothing will stop the round 3. Don't worry.
So it's definitely going ahead. You know,
yeah, definitely.
Maybe it's taken a little bit while. Is there a question there over whether the government needs this energy at all? You know, going on the lining of the question.
Why we need all of this energy, you mean, yes?
No, meaning like, is there a question of whether you need this energy at this time?
Actually, yes, there is a question whether we need this energy or not, because in 2020, our peak load will reach something like 4.5 gigawatt, and we'll have installed capacity of conventional alone of around more than 5 gigawatt, and with renewable, we'll have 7 to 8 gigawatt of installed capacity. It has been a question that it's distributed everywhere here in Jordan, whether we need this whole capacity or not, because this is almost, we will have a reserve of 40-50% in the coming 3-4 years. Why we need all of this energy? But I think the government of Jordan has its own vision about this.
I mean, definitely there is the selling power, right, connection that you said that you guys are integrating, therefore there could be revenue streams there for you.
Especially for Syria, I think, because it has been a discussion about whether we'll start supplying the southern Syria for electricity or not. They're expecting this to be very soon, maybe within 6 months. This is what I have here. I hope so.
Imad, what needs to be done to reconnect the infrastructure?
With Syria, you mean?
Yes.
For us, everything is ready, but we don't know the status of the infrastructure in the Syrian side. It is still there. destroyed, or what's the status? Needs small repair, large repair, significant or not? We don't have any information about this. But as I've heard, the infrastructure is somehow destroyed in their in their side, but it's very short distance. You know, it's shorter than 100 kilometers, and there are a lot of Chinese companies, they can do it in 6-7 months to redo the infrastructure. Without tendering, without this, is just direct, go and repair it, they can do it in 6-7 months. If there is global acceptance for this, they can do it very easily with a cost of very minimal. They can maybe $20 million, something like this. This is not very significant. It's very easy, I think. Because as you know, that the distance from the northern part of Jordan to Syria, where the connection is something like 70 kilometers only. So it's nothing.
Okay, so we keep on this, you know, I'm just trying to take a look and see if anything comes up. But what about the shale oil project? Obviously, you guys have just signed recently a shale oil project that is quite large. Yes, it's going to take some time. But I mean, if you don't need the energy, I mean, how does this play into the...
Yeah.
And I suppose I'm not the only one to ask this question. I mean, it's just a common question that keeps coming up, isn't it?
Yeah. For the oil shale project, we have signed the contract with the Estonian party for the oil shale projects to be direct burning for the oil shale to produce electricity in the southern part of Jordan, very specific in Al-Karak area in Jordan. Total capacity 470 megawatt. This will help us for the shares for 15% for the expected generated energy in 2020. The total investment for this project is something like $2.4 billion. It's the first of kind independent power producer for the oil shale project in the world. Okay, this will help it has been a lot of a question about the feasibility of this project in Jordan, whether it's feasible or not, the environmental impacts of this, the financing of this. They have been struggled, the project company, to get financing from the Chinese party for this project. But finally, they got it in the last year for this project. The project will be in operation 2020, the first phase, April 2020, second phase, October 2020. Of course, the best thing of this project is to increase the local content of Jordan, because we have a lot of reserve for oil shale here in Jordan.
And if I don't remember wrongly, the PPA was 13.5, correct? And it's in US dollars, right? All of your PPAs are always paid out in US dollars?
Something like this. Something like this.
No, it wasn't 13.5. I think I have this in mind, but maybe I'm wrong.
Very close to 13.5 cents per kilowatt. Very close.
Okay, so around that.
Which is too much.
Okay, well, you know, you have cheaper options, not you, renewable as well. So yeah.
I need to add something. Can I? Now the discussion is not about the oil shale project, because somehow it's 470 megawatt. It's not small for Jordan, but somehow small if we want to compare it with our nuclear projects, which is 2,000 megawatt. That's why I think the nuclear project would be disaster for Jordan, because not feasible. It will cause a lot of problems to the electrical network, environmental impacts. You know, it's not like the emissions, but the other impacts. I think that's why we start thinking to CSB, because we don't want to get the CSB, then get the nuclear project after 3-4 years. We want to firstly trying to stop the nuclear project, then start to think about other alternatives like the CSB, like baseload alternatives, baseload units alternatives, like CSB, another flexible combined cycle, I don't know, another technologies that are suitable for both baseload generation, like CSB, maybe coal, maybe other projects. But I don't think that will go with coal.
Don't say the
Just to mention.
Really? Oh my God.
I don't think so. I don't think so, because we don't have the infrastructure for this.
Excellent. Okay, so questions. Industrial heat. There's been a lot of questions about industrial heat and about the fact, okay, this is not energy.
I I have answered this question that we have two factors that utilizing CSP for industrial heating. They are using linear Fresnel, but these two projects are very, very small. But it has been used for two projects here in Jordan for industrial purposes.
So are industries at the moment able to procure their own either power or heat if they need it in a captive or in a private off-taker form, or do they have to pay to NEPCO? How does it work? Does a payment have to go to NEPCO?
For what? For the payments for the electricity?
So if I am a private off-taker, am I allowed to be a private off-taker, or how does it work? There was a question about that as well.
You're not allowed, because our scheme here in Jordan is single buyer model, where all of electricity has to be purchased by NEPCO and resale by NEPCO, the distribution company, and bulk consumer. The only exception for this is the wheeling projects, where the electricity can be bought in by another developer. But there are some discussion where the EMRC, the Regulatory Commission, they're thinking to extend the definition for the wheeling projects to have the conventional projects, not only renewable projects. I'm not with this, because to limit this to renewable projects is better, because it's not fair to allow any other investor to have its own wheeling projects by coal or by natural gas. This is not fair. By renewable projects, it's somehow fair, somehow logic, but for other conventional technologies, I think it's not a good idea. But they're thinking about this.
Okay. Cool. Sorry. So what about heat? If people need to, this is okay, right? And are you guys planning from the government and from NEPCO to try and increase or like get people to think about generating their own heat using solar?
Sorry, I have a problem in there.
Sorry.
Yeah, can you repeat this, because I couldn't hear this?
I'm sorry. I was just saying that actually, is there any plans to allow or make it easier or encourage people who need heat, not electricity, but heat, to use solar, like have more Fresnel plants or more CSP for this particular need?
Actually, yes. Actually, in the Jordanian code for building and construction, it is mandatory now to have the solar water heater collectors. It's mandatory now. It's mandatory for more than 5 years now, I think.
Okay. So this was a question here, and now we know. And I haven't gone through every single question, but I think I've questioned you so much that I'd just like to ask.
There are some questions about natural gas and the price of natural gas and all of this.
Go for it. Answer. You've taken a look at it.
I have answered this. I have told that the price of natural gas now in Jordan is liquid natural gas. Somehow we have two contracts with Shell company, and the prices for liquid natural gas is not that much far from the global price for liquid natural gas. Of course, it's confidential. I cannot tell you, but this is somehow close, very close to the global price for liquid natural gas.
Okay, here we are. We're going to have to just Google that, guys.
There is another question about the imported natural gas, whether it's used to generate electricity or it can be used in factories. Actually, it's exclusively for the electricity generation, with one exception, which is the Potas company. One factory only, but it's only for the electricity generation.
Okay, and is there any detailed information about the regulation for net metering and wheeling?
Updated information, yes.
In English, yeah, they just ask in English whether that's available and where
yes,
is it
they can visit the emrc.gov.jo website, where they can look to the all regulation, all bylaws, all laws, or everything. It's in English. emrc.gov.jo.
Okay, so in the EMRC, and
I write it down in the chat now.
Okay, excellent. And just one last question, just to say goodbye, because you guys have done a great job, so thank you very much. And Matt, you're like a machine, you're a question answering machine. It's really good.
No, don't worry.
We love this. I think if people were, you would get even a million more. Just for the last, what is the social and economic impact that you're seeing of all this renewable energy in the Jordanian?
It's a very difficult question, because always when we're talking about the socio-economic impacts, how to quantify this is the most difficult thing. We have seen a lot of job has been created, but it is temporary, for temporary phase. We were looking forward to increase the job creation for permanent basis. This is the most important thing. The second thing, which is the land prices have been increased, especially in the potential areas like Im'an, Mafraq area, Tafila area. This is had a very well socio-economic impact. The first one, job creation, land prices increased. Of course, this at the end of everything, it has been passed through to NIPCO through the prices, but somehow helped the socio-economic for the areas. Some of the people around the areas, like as mentioned, Tafila, Ma'an, they are remoted area, no service, not very well established services there. They have started their own projects like, restaurants, maybe some other small shops and something like this. These are the main socio-economic impact I have seen.
So what you're saying is it's not clear how the longevity is going to be like of those projects, and you're clearly a mathematician, so you want to crunch the numbers and actually get a result.
The objective,
yeah, I mean, saying that what I got from your reply is that some things are happening, but you wouldn't know.
I can't hear you very well.
No, I'm so sorry. I was just saying that what I understand from you, from what you said, is that there is some impact. We don't know how long term it will be, but it is hard to put a number on it because it's hard to crunch the numbers. Yeah.
Yes.
Christopher, what about you? What have you seen in other markets, and how have you seen Jordan on this specific question?
Sorry.
Question being, what is the impact, the social and economic impact of renewable energy in Jordan and in other countries that have renewable energy?
No, it's been quite great in the sense that it has opened up. It's not a high-tech industry, so it can employ people who are local and indigenous around the site in the local neighborhoods, and it has been able to create a lot of, especially in Jordan, where you initially set out in a large-scale feed-in tariff program, but also have been opening up the market to multiple projects, not just one large project at a time. You've been able to attract a lot of local companies to bid and to participate in the renewable energy sector. So it's also opened up investment opportunities domestically, internationally, of course, but also domestically. So we see quite a lot of activity and a lot of positive developments, in the social and economic area. It's improved the lifestyle around the areas and the local villages and whatnot. So, yeah, I think it's been quite positive.
So I hope it keeps going, and I hope that you guys soon give us good news about round 3. I hope that the IFC is going to keep on investing and financing for a very long time in Jordan, and that things move forward. I'd like to thank you very much for your time. You guys have been superb. You have done a great job. Thank you very much for the participants as well. We had quite a few here in the room today, a lot of questions. And we will do an update at some point in the next 6 months or so. So hope that you all come back and we hear the news. Thank you very much for your time, and see you next time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.